Hello tankers and tankettes! In celebration of reaching 20k subs on YouTube, I thought I'd put up an artillery replay! Oh god, who thought this was a good idea? Yeah! This is actually going to be my ace tanker game in the FV3805. It's the tier 9 British arty. It is nowhere near as OP as the tier 10 British arty. In fact, I wouldn't really say it's OP at all. It's kind of middling, but it's still a tier 9 arty, and it still packs a fair old wallop if you can actually hit people. But there's a particular point to this replay. There is an ironic point, I guess we could say, and we'll come to that at the end of it, or you'll probably know what it is approaching the end of the replay, but yes, more on that later. So it's Malinovka, and no, it's not, it's Malinovka. I can tell the difference. And this is known for being sometimes a fairly campy map anyway, and there are 3 arties per team, so can you guess how this is going to go? One of the arguments given occasionally that is much mocked is that artillery prevents camping. I beg to differ, as do many people. The honest truth is, and anybody that's played especially a lot of high tier games will know this, is that although it isn't always the case, yeah, that was somebody that is going to regret reading Reddit while he was loading in. Generally speaking, the more artillery there are in a given battle, the more static a battle is. The less people are inclined to take risks, the less people are inclined to get spotted and potentially nailed by artillery. Now this is kind of an issue on this map anyway, especially what these tank destroyers are doing. View range on Malinovka is, generally speaking, it's whoever has the most wins, whoever has the best scouts or fast medium tanks or whatever, tends to do best because more of the enemy are getting spotted. But you have to have somebody that's willing to take that risk, and it is a big risk, especially when there's several arties per team. So there are some mediums on each team, but not many. I mean, we've got an E50 and a 1390 on our side. They've got an STB1 and a Batchat on their side. Their 1390 is already dead, so it could turn out to be a very static game. And you can already see, I mean, like half the team, well, maybe not half the team, a third of the team is still really within 200-300 meters of the spawn, and they're not particularly doing anything. And the ones that are going up the hill are being extremely cautious and hesitant, and we can see from the enemy side they are as well. Now, like I said, this isn't every battle with artillery. One artillery doesn't make that big of a difference. Although if it's something like a CGC or the Batchat 55-58, you know, people do noticeably play a bit more cautiously. But 3+ artillery, it becomes extremely noticeable. Generally speaking, these games just become a lot more static. So any notion that artillery prevents people from camping, I think it's a bit of a false one. That is supposed to be the theory, that the threat of artillery will stop you from just sitting still, but in practice, people will A, either dive for the nearest cover, or B, just take the risk anyway, at which point it is all down to RNG, because artillery is extremely RNG based these days, incredibly so. And they're actually talking about nerfing accuracy again, because they tightened up the accuracy. They made it a bit more possible for, you know, that shots would more often go to the center of your aim reticle. And they're talking about nerfing that. And when they made those changes, they basically, I mean, the artillery accuracy numbers got a lot bigger to sort of compensate for the fact that if they hadn't, artillery would have been a bit too accurate. No idea if it means the RT accuracy numbers will be tightened up again, or if they'll be left as they are now, and that they will be even more inaccurate and RNG based. This particular RT doesn't have especially splashy shells, unlike the CGC, which gets a monster amount of splash. As you can see, I'm not using any premium HE for this at all. I don't tend to use premium anything for artillery. The reason I'm playing it, and if you've seen any of my previous very occasional artillery videos, that shot, by the way, pure RNG. Totally unjust. Felt bad for it. One guy trying to actually do something. Click! He's gone. Yeah. RNG, fair and balanced. RT, even fair and balanced. Well, RNG fair and balanced as well, I guess. But I've forgotten my point now. Basically, yeah, RT is so RNG based that aiming at the right targets takes some skill, and when you're trying to lead targets on the move, you know, all that kind of thing, that requires some level of judgment. That building, by the way, not particularly artillery safe from that side. And once you've done all that, it is then all in the hands of RNGs. You are just aiming and clicking and crossing your fingers and hoping. You might as well just be literally rolling a dice to see if it's actually going to do anything or not. Nobody plays artillery to buff their accuracy stats. Somebody pointed out to me that people don't tend to deliberately go buff their accuracy stats anyway. But generally speaking, the more accurate somebody is, you know, if you look at somebody's stats page, if they've got a high degree of accuracy, generally that means they're a reasonably good player. But artillery, yeah, good luck if you manage like a 40% accuracy rate with artillery, then that's doing pretty well. So our 1319 is making a go for it. I've not really talked much about the battle at hand so far, but yeah, I don't know. I periodically do these videos where I put up an artillery replay, generally because something has happened. And well, yeah, as I said, there is kind of a point to this. But oh yes, why I'm playing artillery? And there we go. Enemy clicker counter-clicked, kind of, not really counter-clicked. He was spotted, but the point of me playing this, which is I think the point I was trying to make earlier and then sidetracked myself, is that I'm going for the technical engineer badge with the British line. And that involves playing British Arty. Now, what my plan is that I am going to unlock the CGC, but not buy it. Because for one thing, that 6 million credits I would much rather spend on... Yes, that's the word. On a proper tank. And for another thing, I feel filthy enough having played up to tier 9 on any artillery line. That replay derp, though. Yeah, I don't know. So... that's my plan, but of course this is all happening as the new British tank destroyer lines are going to come out in, well, line, singular, in 9.5. So what my hope is that I will elite this thing, get the CGC unlocked, be able to sell it, and then I'll actually have a fairly decent crew, just filthy, a fairly decent crew for the new British tank destroyer line, rather than having to train up a new crew, because this crew was already... I think they're onto their second crew skill, or just about onto their second crew skill, because I've been grinding this crew up through the entire artillery line so far. Now I could, to remove the taint, and I jokingly said this in one of the... well, whose stream was it? It might even have been Circle stream. But that I'd put this crew into witness protection, that I'd wait till the crew, you know, changing the appearance is like half price, and change their faces so that no one would ever know it was them. They would never carry that stigma with them. But I don't know. That's just a bit of a silly thought I had. But yeah, grinding up through the British line so far, it's been the tier 5, the Bishop. I mean, that's a bit OP because it's the Burt gun, but it's a tier lower, and therefore it's more effective. Then you get the Burt. Then the tier 7 is pretty terrible. The tier 8 is kind of mediocre. This thing gets a bit punchier. The gun gets sort of... this is about the size of gun that some of the other nations' tier 8 arties have. The bigger guns. But it's got, compared to other tier 9... that derp though. Other tier 9 arties, it has a better reload. You see there it's 34, nearly 35 seconds. This, by the way, is a game I had today. So, just 9.4 replays generally. Herpaderp. So, yeah, this is turning out to be a classic Malinovka war of attrition with artillery. We've still got 3, they've still got 2 left. We are 8, 9, so they have more actual tanks left and just more vehicles overall. So it's kind of going against us, and there's about 5.5, well, less than 5.5 minutes to go now. The Jagdpanzer E100, by the way, on the enemy team that got killed early on, was keeping us all very entertained with his... I don't even know what to call it, ranting? I mean, okay, he got clicked on, and got clicked on for rather a lot of health, and it's understandable that you'd be mad about that, because that is always incredibly annoying when that happens. But he just went on and on about, I don't even know, apparently XVM is a hack? Who knew? It lets you one-shot people with artillery if you use XVM, according to this guy. That's the best I can translate. Eventually I just added him to my ignore list, because I really couldn't figure out what the hell he was on about. So just trying a blind shot into that bush there. The 185 or the bat chat might have been there. But at this point, it's not looking good. It's looking like we're probably going to lose this. The fact that I have 4 kills, I have no idea how much damage I've done in total, because obviously a couple of hits were blind, but the fact that I have 4 kills, totally RNG. Like, there's no skill to that whatsoever. Yes, okay, I picked the targets I was going to click on. This replay bug, though. This is about as bad as I've seen it. And yes, I had to aim the reticle, you know, correctly, which obviously is a skill that really applies to any tank. And at that point, it was just, you know, slaughtering a goat and praying to the RNG gods that it would actually hit close enough to even do some splash damage. Because, like I've mentioned, this doesn't particularly have a high amount of splash damage, this particular arty. Well, actually, just we can check that just now. Oh no, it doesn't tell you. The HE, the premium HE, as you can see, a little bit more pen, but it's got more splash to it. So yeah, I have no idea what the extra splash radius is compared to normal HE, or even just what the normal HE splash radius is on this, but it's not particularly big. But it's still bigger than the tier 8, which, like, I think everything up to tier 8 with the British arties, it's fair to say, you basically have to hit exactly, you have to score a direct hit to actually do some damage, because the splash is virtually non-existent, especially with the tier 5 and the tier 6, the Bishop and the Bird. Tier 7, the gun doesn't really get much better. In fact, in some ways it's worse, to be honest, but the Burt gun, you don't really want to be using that gun at tier 7 as well. This bat chat, by the way, stationary, perfectly aimed, watch this. Hail RNGesus! That's what I mean. You just, it's a dice throw every single time. You have no idea if it's going to hit or not. Could be a stationary target, perfectly aimed, and it will just hit the absolute outside edge of the reticle. This is what I mean when I say artillery, it's not fun to play, and it's not fun to play against. Because I can't exactly say I'm enjoying myself right now. I mean, the 4 kills is useful, because of course the WZ-111 mission is running, so any kills and any damage I rack up are extremely useful. But we're rapidly running out of time now, and they are, you know, they've tried to make a push. And such is the nature of the thing that every time somebody gets spotted, artillery, click, 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 including me, and yeah, I mean, we're just rapidly running out of time, and it's just ridiculous. This whole game has been ridiculous. Artillery doesn't cause camping, sure. So, yeah, I'm not playing this for fun. And I don't quite get people that do play it for fun. I mean, the standard answer that seems to be from, obviously it's only a very small sample, but people I personally know that play artillery and claim it's for fun, is that they like to troll people and feast on their tears, and I suppose that's a reason. And another one I've heard is that people like to play it because they want a bit more of a relaxed experience. And they don't want to play, you know, just normal tanks where you actually have to work for what you're doing. That's literally an answer I've heard from people, yeah, because playing normal tanks is too hard, so they go and play artillery instead. I don't know, it just seems like... I've often said it, or at least I have in my head, that counts, right? That artillery, you know, one of the reasons people seem to play it is because, yeah, enemy RT just killed the ISA, by the way. Is that they don't want to play real tanks. They want to play Will of Tanks, but they don't actually want to play tanks. But they want to feel like they're taking part. So they play artillery. I have no idea. 10 seconds. Yeah, it's going to be a draw. Yeah. This is the point of this replay. It's going to be a draw. It's going to be my ace tanker on this arty, on Malinovka, on a draw. Is not the irony just wonderful? Anyway, I got a Gauze medal out of that, and the reason it wasn't just a absolutely mediocre result, that it was actually an ace tanker, is that because I got that Gauze medal, I also got the Courageous Resistance buff to my XP, or the bonus rather. So the total XP was enough to make that an ace tanker. And this is only my third ever Gauze medal, and I think 2 of them have been in this thing. So it's not like I've had that many high damage games in it, to be honest. In this case, I ended up doing the most damage on the team. Doesn't happen that often in Arty. Usually if it does, it means the rest of the team's absolute terrible. Or else that I've had an outrageously lucky time with RNG. And in this one, I obviously kind of did have a lucky time with RNG, because that is a very decent score. And most of those were splashes, because looking at shots fired 15, hits, direct hits 3. So most of the damage done was via splash, basically. So obviously the shots that I was landing were close enough to people to actually do some splash damage, which isn't always the case. So there we go, artillery. It wasn't that just so thrilling to watch. I can assure you it was even more thrilling to play. I've got, I think, less than 100,000 XP to go to the tier 10 at this point. At which point I will quite gladly sell this machine and just never play artillery again. Well, I'll still have my Bert, I suppose, so having said I'll never play artillery again, I'll never play high tier artillery again. How about that? Because, I mean, it's been educational, and you certainly get to see firsthand that, I mean, there's a certain element of confirmation bias when you're playing other tanks and you think, okay, there's artillery in this battle. Is it going to be campy? Oh, yes, it's campy. Maybe you don't notice the battles where it isn't campy. When you're playing artillery, of course, you're always in a battle where there's artillery. And more often of late, it's been battles where there have been multiple artillery. And it is, I mean, it's something I've thought for a while, but it is extremely noticeable that it just makes everything more static. And that's not fun for anybody particularly. So, yeah, a whole video about artillery, as I occasionally like to do, where I just say, is it artillery rubbish? But honestly, I mean, I've talked in other videos about what can we do about artillery, and I'm not going to go over everything that I've done, everything that I've said previously in that vein. There have been plenty of people that have made plenty of suggestions about how artillery could be reworked to make it fairer, better, less frustrating to play against, and less frustrating to play in. But Wargaming doesn't seem set to do any of those things, so yeah. This is artillery, and it's so much fun, you guys. So much fun. So, if you enjoy this video, although God knows why you would have, you can hit the like button, or the dislike button. It's there as well. You can leave any comments below telling me what a scumbag I am. You can subscribe to the channel, or unsubscribe as the case may be. And, as always, stay tuned for more.